The area ahead is under total Soviet control. Miller's been captive for 10 days. Not much time left.
Weather will clear shortly.
Storm's passing.
Getting used to it? After 9 years on ice, solo infiltration of the Soviet main ground forces should be the perfect warm-up.
The perfect warm-up indeed.
Hira Miller is being held in Dawandehar to the north. Check its location now. Take out your iDroid.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Play Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Oh god. Oh god.
You see Wandy on the map? That's where they're keeping Miller. Only problem is we don't know his exact location. Finding it is your first priority.
Okay. So yeah, since we left off, we did the prologue, the absolutely you
Go
know,
ahead and close the iDroid.
high octane, high action prologue. So this is our iDroid.
Got your binoculars? Or should I say, int scope? See the village? Straight ahead? To the right. Look up.
Something glinting over there.
Alright, that's the village. If you see something through the binoculars and you need more information, just give me a call. I'll tell you anything I can about it.
Well, start with the village then, can you?
That's Violo Village. The Violo Calais. The villagers fled the war and evacuated a while back. Since then, it's become a base for the Soviets' 40th Army. A few days ago, Miller was taken through there, en route towards Dawandehar. You may be able to pick up the trail there. It's worth a shot. Put a marker on it so you don't lose track of where it is.
Ah, so we can place a marker in the binocular screen, not just on the map screen. That's good.
Marker
Good.
placed.
Now you won't have to worry about getting lost along the way.
You can't have much left in him. I give him 3 days, tops. If we fail, and he dies, we lose our chance of revenge. But we need more intel. If you just go charging into Dawandehar, you'll be putting both your lives at risk. See what you can find out first. The Soviets have other outposts, not just the one you saw. Afghanistan is a big place. I expect you'll become quite familiar with those binoculars as you plan your next move. How and where you make it, well, that's up to you. From here on out, you're on your own. You're a legend in the eyes of those who live on the battlefield. That's why you have to handle this mission yourself. Put those 9 years behind you, and return as Big Boss. That's how Koss would want it. I'll be sending additional intel by radio. Stay sharp. Not one of Miller's bodyguards survived. And they were good. All we found on the scene were their corpses and these. You'll be missing them. And you're his only hope of getting them back. Now go! Let the legend come back to life.
And just like that, he was gone. Oh, my neck, he moved quick. Right, we got control of a horse here. So we can move the horse around. X is to speed up. Whoa, 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 whoa! Aye, aye, aye! Just slow down, Bessie. Slow down.
Why don't you do a little more practice in those ruins? Shooting, taking cover, climbing obstacles. See to it that 9-year gap doesn't slow you down.
It'll only slow me down a touch. Right, okay. Before we go any further, this is where we are at the moment. Middle of Afghanistan. I've taken a little bit of time to get accustomed to the keys off camera. Didn't want to be messing around trying to figure out the basics. Boring you guys to death. So we have our first objective, which is here. This village where we might get some intelligence regarding Miller's whereabouts.
A few days ago, Miller was taken through there, en route towards Dehar. The transport log might still be around somewhere.
Walking for a transport log. We also have a barracks up here. We have the Eastern Communications Post down here. And we are simply here. This borderline thing here is I believe is the mission zone, so you can't actually wander outside of that. The reason why I know that is because I was walking around off camera just getting accustomed to my bearings and managed to get quite close to this borderline, and this got a warning message. So that is that. We do have a few things to get through. First of all, we have the briefing tape.
Boss, your mission is to rescue the target Kazuhira Miller, the man you called your partner 9 years ago. Miller was training guerrilla rebels near the Pakistani border when he was captured by the Soviets. He's currently being held at Dehar. Rescue Miller from the Soviet troops and extract him by chopper. It's time to prove to the world you're the real big boss.
The real big boss. Right, we've got obtainable skills and blueprints. Rescuer and quick draw. I don't know what the hell that means. We've got an elapsed time meter, which I think is in terms of game hours, not actual real life hours and minutes. And he said we've got 3 days to rescue Miller, so we can't hang about. That's 72 hours. We've got to rescue him within 72 hours, otherwise we might fail the mission. 2 main tasks here. Pinpoint his whereabouts and extract him. But there's also 4 side missions, which I don't know what they are. All we can do, I suppose, is examine every major location in the area and see if we can pick up collectibles and pick up documents or whatever the side missions might be. We also have a collection of tapes. Now we have music tapes. I think we can put music on whilst we're walking around. We can collect these tapes in the game world, should we want to listen to them. I might listen to a couple here and there. And then we have, of course, the main tapes, the logs, and we are going to listen to these now. So if you've already heard them or you don't want to listen to them, you might want to skip forward about 10 minutes. But I do want to listen to them, so here we go. We're going to start with The Man on Fire.
Snake, I wanted to ask you about the man on fire. What do you remember from the hospital? Anything we can use?
Well, he took off the moment the sprinklers started up.
Sprinklers? The fire system?
And when he got sprayed with water from the burst pipe, it slowed him down.
We
we escaped on horseback, he wouldn't cross the river either.
And then it started to rain. And he disappeared.
Water against fire. Is it that simple? I mean, it makes sense. It's just hard to believe it would work on a guy like that.
The Man on Fire. Is that his official name? Very creative, I have to say. And we've got a load of briefing items. Looks like these are sort of painting a picture here as to what's happened when we've been away and stuff, so that's going to be very useful.
You were hospitalized in Dikelia, a British sovereign base area on Cyprus. It's part of British overseas territory that falls outside of Cypriot jurisdiction. You got moved from Cuba's Little America right into Cyprus's Little Britain.
Why Dikelia?
The UK and the US remain close allies. The last place Cypher would think to look for you is inside their own system. That's what kept you safe in British military hospital for 9 years. The safest place from a whale is inside its own belly. You were a regular Geppetto.
Well, it wasn't Pinocchio who led me out to safety. So who was that guy?
Cypher went so far as to attack British territory, burning their own ally. That's how badly they wanted you dead.
He said I was in a British military hospital. But the doctor had a Greek accent.
They hire locally. Easier to trust them. Dikelia is also home to Greek Cypriots, after all.
What about the Turks? They haven't returned to the south.
Not yet. The Cyprus dispute is still a long way from resolved. The country is just as split as it was in '74. Turkish Cypriots in the north, Greek Cypriots in the south. Between them, the Green Line, the UN established.
And Dikelia sits right on top of it.
It does. Part of the buffer zone between the two groups. Another reason it was the perfect place to hide you. Easy to spot any outsiders snooping around.
So how do things stand?
Now, last year, the Turks declared that the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus is an independent state, though it's only Turkey that recognizes it. In the past, the Greeks and Turks lived side by side in the same villages. There are reasons to fight. Those came from the outside. Greece, Turkey, Britain, America, they all had their own stake in pitting the two sides against each other. But once you spark something like this, it's impossible to control. Both sides build up grudges like debt, without the foresight to see that each act of revenge just fans the flames. And then it's too late for other nations to rush in with peace talks. The embers keep on smoldering. Each nation's arrogance only breeds anarchy. The world is paralyzed by this hunger for revenge. Cyprus is no different. You're up.
We're changing ships?
We can't go sailing the Suez in a whaler.
The Suez Canal. When did they reopen it?
Not long after you were attacked. Once they finished sweeping it for mines after the Arab-Israeli conflict. Can you stand? We're going to transfer to a container ship for passage through the Suez. Our destination is Pakistan, Afghanistan's neighbor to the south. There we disembark and head via Peshawar to the Zero Line, the border. We'll travel to the Khyber Pass by road.
And then?
We continue on horseback. Afghanistan's main roads are under Soviet control. We'll need to go around them. It'll be all narrow, winding paths through the mountains. We'll do better on horseback. It's a local guerrilla tactic. They use the higher ridges to avoid air recons. Then they charge down the mountains for ambushes. The Soviets still haven't devised a counter-strategy. Our time frame is only half as much as we really need. It's gonna be a tough march.
Better horses than boats.
Well, it'll make for good physiotherapy. Take the time to get used to that new arm.
While the Soviets have indicated they are not participating in the Los Angeles Olympics, primarily because the United States has made no attempt to guarantee the safety of the Soviet Union's athletes, the United States is increasingly demonstrating the belief that the issue has nothing to do with its preparations, and in fact this is retaliation for the Western nations' boycott of the previous Moscow Olympics. That concludes today's news.
That's quite some news.
The Soviet Union not attending the LA Olympics? Yeah. Andropov's death has changed some things. They're calling it revenge for the Western boycott of the Moscow Olympics.
Countries boycotted the Moscow Olympics?
Yes. in protest of the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan. Over 50 countries were absent. It's too bad I didn't get to see Yamashita's judo. When the 40th Army crossed the Amu River 4 years ago, détente went right out the window. The U.S. Congress chose not to ratify SALT II, and Reagan's hardline politics won him the presidency in a landslide. According to him, the Soviet Union's an evil empire. A second Cold War. And there's been no end to regional conflicts and civil wars. Lebanon, the Falklands, Grenada, Iran, Iraq. The story never changes. Egypt and Israel did sign a peace treaty. But then the driving force on the Egyptian side, President Sadat, was assassinated afterward. Apparently, his actions were considered a betrayal of his fellow Arabs. Islamic extremists? Yes. Fundamentalist extremists have been responsible for some bold acts of terrorism in recent years. We've had extremist students in Iran take U.S. embassy workers hostage, and suicide bombings in Lebanon. Over 300 foreign soldiers stationed there have been killed. But countries have yet to develop an effective means of dealing with terrorism. Afraid of losing their own men, they've pulled their forces out, handing private forces a golden opportunity. Private forces? Small armies with no national affiliation, working for the highest bidder. That's right, they got the idea from you. After Mother Base went down, they began spreading to meet the soaring demand. Miller's organization is just one of many PFs now. The entire world is after you. But at the same time, it needs you too. Miller told me about what happened in the Caribbean 9 years ago. You do remember Miller. You'd formed a private army with him. An army with no allegiance to a nation. I remember, but... I see. You're not sure what's fact and what's a fantasy caused by the coma. It's still all a mess, huh? All I can do is tell you the facts as they were told to me. I've gone easy on you up until now, but this is where the hard stuff begins. 1974, the year before you entered your coma. You were in Colombia, operating with a small unit of men, basically mercenaries. Miller was among them. Miller was trying to find a way to turn his and your talents into a line of work. He was looking to start a business where you would fight on behalf of others around the world, those who needed military force. But the reality was, at that time, you didn't have enough gear to equip your own men. Then Miller came across this client. It was a huge job he was offering, but you had a shot at pulling it off. You accepted it and headed into Costa Rica. The client even threw in an offshore facility in the Caribbean. The Mother Base, that would be your new base of operations. Miller sure did have a head for business. As your mission went on, your unit grew and grew. More weapons, more money. Before you knew it, you were commanding 300 men. As the organization got bigger, your military powers swelled to match. It got so the international community couldn't afford to ignore you. You were just too damn successful for your own good. You, your men, had worn out your welcome. Everyone was out for you. East, West, First World, Third. It was only a matter of time before someone took you down. And that was XOF. Officially, they're an anti-terror unit under the CIA. In reality, they're Cypher's private strike force. They lured you to Cuba using Chico, the Nicaraguan revolutionary kid, and Paz, a mole who worked for Cypher as bait. While you were gone, XOF, posing as a nuclear inspection team, stormed Mother Base. At the same time, C4 they'd placed on the strut legs went off. The whole thing went down in minutes. XOF. Kisses and hugs followed by a big FU. All because of Miller's blind spot. A back door into Mother Base no one suspected. You remember a certain scientist. Huey was responsible for bringing the inspection team on board, giving the enemy a perfect opportunity to hit you at home. You were returning from Cuba when it happened. Mother Base came damn close to taking you with it into the Caribbean. Those of your men out on assignment returned right away. They refused to believe the wreckage in the water they found was Mother Base. But they checked the coordinates again and again, until reality finally settled in. You were supposed to die that day. That was XOF's primary objective. As far as most folks know, You did. The first doctor to see you wasn't even sure what he was looking at. Before they'd even finished operating, your men moved you to that hospital in Cyprus. There was a woman named Eva who arranged that. Rings a bell, hmm? Most men in your condition would have been written off right from the start. But you survived. You went straight down to hell, and they pulled you out. Your eye wide open. Full venom. The days of naked Snake are long gone. Welcome back, Venom Snake. This world still needs you. Here, Snake, try this on. A prosthetic arm. Yeah, Miller was calling it the arm that wasn't there. The physiotherapy's going well. Your arm's bulked up enough for it to fit. There. Perfect. A little time with it, and it'll work better than the real thing. What do you think? Huh. I can still feel my real arm. Well, you better get used to this one quick. You have any pain? Every now and then. Where? My fingertips. My left fingertips. Sounds like phantom pain. Your brain still remembers your old hand. Yeah. What about your vision? Can you see okay? Yeah, at the moment. Now, the shrapnel in your skull is pressing on your optic nerve. I'm told any hard impact could have an effect on your visual cortex. Yeah, the doctor mentioned that. Your brain might process visual information incorrectly. In other words, you could have hallucinations. You might see things that aren't there, or not see things as they really are. You experience any of that? I think so. When? Right after I wake up. Colors look faded. Colors, huh? Well, that's not a major concern in and of itself, but it could mean the difference between life and death in the field. You'll need to watch out for that. I will. All right. You should continue your physio. We'll be arriving soon. It's the last chance you'll get.
Okay, wow. A lot of information there. Certain things that we didn't know, which were quite enlightening. But the main thing is, we are back. Venom Snake, out for revenge. Right, as we were playing those messages, time did elapse, which means it's dark, which is a perfect time to infiltrate under the cover of darkness. So let's move quickly. Now, when I was looking at the cutscene, there was something glinting up on the cliff here. Yeah, there it is. I assume that is something that we need to be concerning ourselves with. So before we move anywhere else, we should really see if we can grab that. And there's something glinting here.
Even the sheerest cliffs are climbable if there are cracks you can use as handholds. You might even find some unexpected routes that way. Keep an eye out for cracks on your travels.
So we can gather plants. Is there never a game that I've played recently where we can't gather blooming plants? Something else to keep me distracted. Right. So every glinting plant that we see, am I going to have to grab the damn thing? Rough diamonds.
That's a rough diamond. Good find. It'll fetch a high price.
That said a secondary mission had been completed. Secure the rough diamonds hidden in Spug May Keep. Ah, right, okay. So some of these side missions could just be as simple as finding hidden things. Right, so we're going to certainly have to keep our eyes peeled whilst we move around, and this is obviously going to be conducive to exploration, to taking your time and looking around and certainly exploring as much as you can. I mean, which suits me fine, to be fair. The man who sold the world. I just love 80s music. Okay, we won't play that though. We have our first find. Now we move on. And where shall we go first? This is where we need to be to get the intelligence. but there's also this here. So we could sort of go round here, and then to this communications post first, and then come back round to there. I think I'll do that.
Marker placed.
Well, obviously we don't want to take too long, and then there's this here as well. We'll place a marker there.
Marker placed.
We've got A, B, C, and of course this is the final destination. Yeah, that seems decent enough. Spug may keep east guard posts. These little squares here are guard posts. So we need to probably mark this as well. And there's one here too. Choices. You know what? I'm going to go here first, and then maybe branch off, depending on what we find here. So we'll go to A first, via this guard post. The keys are pretty much the same as Ground Zero, so there's not really much for us to get back into the swing of. The only slight difference is we now have a prosthetic arm, which actually, if I get off the horse to show you this is kind of funny. We can use it to lure enemies. It makes a strange sound. I mean, look at that. What's that all about? So we can use that to draw the enemy towards us with a sound, as well as the magazines that we can use, like in the Ground Zeroes. We do have magazines too. But then we also have, if I can remember how to do this, we can use our prosthetic arm to do a power attack if we charge and then attack. Look at that. Bloody, what is it? Steve Austin? That's surely a patented sound. Do 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 do. We can rebuild him with a prosthetic arm. How much is it going to cost? $1 million. Anyway, we don't want that on. So we have a tranquilizer gun, we have a silenced assault weapon, some grenades. That's all we need. Yeah. Hang fire. Hang fire. I see a herb.
That's a type of medicinal plant. Bring it back to base. It's sure to be useful sometime.
So the plants we collect are sent back to our base. Mother base. I mean, we do have a tab for Mother base, but it's blank at the moment. So I imagine that we can maybe craft things back at base. Maybe weapons or, you know, health kits or something to bring into the field with us. I'm thinking that's how it might work. Yeah, the graphics are absolutely sublime, and I'm really surprised how well optimized the game is. I'm running this now. I did turn the settings up after the last session to very high, save for a couple of features that are quite processor intensive or graphic card intensive. But most of them are on very high. As we get closer to the guard post here. Try and get around the side of it or the back of it and have a bit of a peek inside. So yeah, and it's just not dropping at all, the frame rate, below 60 frames. And it just looks stunning. I mean, this is probably one of the best optimized games that I've played that looks this good upon its release. You know?
Hold it. There's a Soviet guard post. There are bound to be guards. Take a look with your binoculars. Put the enemy in the center of your field of view. That's marking. Focus on the thread and it'll be marked automatically. You can mark enemies and vehicles by zooming in with your binoculars or camera. Once they're marked, you'll also see their positions on the map. Security at that guard post is relatively light. Looks like the perfect place for a warm-up. Try to remember the ways you used to deal with enemies. Anytime you need advice, just give me a call.
There's 2 guards. I don't know if there's just more than, or there's just 2, or if there's more than 2.
It's up to you whether to slip by enemies or take them down. Just remember that any situation can change fast. Familiarize yourself with your weapons and items while you can. You need to be able to switch between them quickly to meet any threat.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to slip by. We could probably just slip by this post. There's only 2 people here, and I don't reckon it's... Oh, there's something glinting there, though. I was going to say, I'm going to move in just for a bit of warm-up. I'm sure there was something glinting. Maybe it was my eyes. I thought that thing on the table there, that black thing, was glinting. It's not. Anyway. We are moving in. Apparently we can hide on this horse. Like that. Now I don't know what this does. Other than hide, of course. Maybe if they see this, it's just a random horse walking along. Even though it's got a saddle on and reins. But it keeps us out of view. Not sure if I'll be using that feature much, but it's there just in case we do need to use it.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
Ah, so some of the stuff we sent back has arrived, has it? I'm going to get off the horse at this point. We can do quite a lot on the horse. We can fire, you know, on the horse. We can use our binoculars and stuff. But as you know from previous LPs, I'm not a massive horse riding fan. I like to get down on the floor. I like to walk. I like to pick stuff off the floor. Okay, so as far as we know, there are 2 guards here, but we've got to keep our eyes open just in case there are more than 2. There could be more than 2. Some guards could be hidden from view. And my strategy in terms of what I'm going to do with these people once I've got rid of them, or how I'm going to get rid of them rather, is it going to be lethal or non-lethal? I'm going to go with non-lethal to start with. Apparently somebody's reassured me that if I do use my tranquilizer darts, they should stay unconscious.
Sight, sound, keep all your enemy senses in mind. When you're near an enemy, stay low and move slowly.
They should stay asleep indefinitely. I think if you knock them out with CQC, you get 3 bars at the top of their heads. That means that they will wake up from that, but if they're tranquilized, they will stay asleep. They only are woken up if another guard spots them. So we can use non-lethal. I have also read quite a lot of the tips off camera. You know, if you press the pause button or the back key, oh god, there's a truck coming in. You can read all the hints and tips. I've done that to see what, you know, just to basically get a feel for all the various features. And apparently you can stuff people in toilets and dumpsters, as well as hiding in them yourself. It's now midnight and 11 hours have elapsed. Yeah, we haven't really done too much in 11 hours, have we? Poor Miller's probably getting beaten and interrogated, and we're just listening to things on our radio. But you know, we've been in a coma for 9 years. We're taking it steady. Hey, another glinty thing. Take this guy down first. I'm not seeing any more guards. Ah, we got him. CQC.
Русский speak, please. Вы говорите по-русски?
Boss, you don't understand what he said?
No.
I guess that makes sense. It looks like that horn stuck in your head has impacted the language center of your brain. If only we had a recruit with the Russian interpreter skill, we could get by with simultaneous interpretation.
Is he having a laugh? He can speak Russian, can't he?
Where are your friends?
I don't know English. Angliski.
You liar. I shall kill you for lying to me, but I won't. I'll just choke you out.
Don't leave bodies out in the open. Find some place to drop them out of sight.
Like a portable toilet, for instance.
A portable toilet. If you're gonna hide inside, watch the enemy doesn't decide to use it. Same goes for hiding downed enemies in it.
Okay, so he's taking a dump. There you go, hint for toilets. So all of these hints you can just scroll through and just read a whole leap of them. So I've read a fair few and made mental note and some physical notes as well. There's a lot of information to process in this game without the story itself. Put the story on top of that, and that's a lot of stuff to try and remember. So I'm doing a lot of off-camera work in terms of reading up and try to get to grips with the features. Because I want to be an effective sneak. I want to be Mr. Stealthy. I don't want to be reloading it too often. I want to demonstrate that I am fairly competent at what I'm doing. Can't pick any of these up. Right, we'll take down this guard over here. So this is a suppressor, so we can refill our suppressor when it gets worn away, which is handy. Make mental note of where that is in case we need to come back. Guard number 2 going for a nap. You know English?
Speak.
Understanding a language and being able to interpret from that language for somebody else are two different things. Juggling languages at a rapid-fire pace is more difficult than you might think. So, in other words, while I do speak Russian, don't expect me to do your interpreting.
Oh, come on. He's having a laugh, isn't he?
Where are your friends?
Damn you people! Damn you! I want information!
Guard post captured.
Oh, captured the guard post. I assume that just means that we've taken care of all the enemies in that guard post. I mean, I don't know if we would have the option to do anything specific. Now we can place these guards down with the B button, nice and calmly, rest their weary heads, be careful not to injure them, or we can show utter disdain and just lob him. Boom! Go for a nap, you piece of crap.